who are you following that you think is really good out there as a working magician right now?
Have you heard of Darren Brown?
No.
Do you know Darren? Derren. So Darren Brown is a guy who started off as a magician and then moved into the world of mentalism. But his whole presentation is none of this is real. I just have the ability to read people. There's a psychology to it. There's a hypnosis to it. And he's, I think he's one of the greatest performers we have right now.
Right.
He's a British entertainer. You should check him out.
Yeah, I was going to say, is he a British? Because I feel like maybe I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
What do you think of, first of all, are there different types of magicians? So you got the street card game ones, and then all the way to, David Blaine and his tricks. I remember when he like put himself underground for 2 days or in the water or something insane. And then all the way to David Copperfield, who I've seen his show. I'm not necessarily a huge Copperfield fan, but I will tell you when he makes that car disappear on stage, you're just like, wait,
it's fantastic.
What? And you're watching from every angle and you're like, there's no way. Like when you see things like that, are you like, oh my God? Or how he's doing it?
At times, yeah. At times I have that. It reminds me why I like magic. I'll see something, holy shit, that was great. You just kind of, I know a lot about magic and they still got me. Like that is an amazing feeling. So there are different kinds of magic. So you have close-up magic, which used to be called pocket tricks, was never respected back in the old days. Mostly just amateur magicians would pull out a few coins and dice and cards and do pocket tricks. That's changed now. I think close-up magic, thanks to Blaine, has its golden era right now. People just love it. You've got street magic that's been around since day one, and that's, to me, the ultimate. I'm not a street magician. I have a lot of friends who are. On Magic on the Go, there is an entire masterclass on street magic because I got a bunch of well-known guys together and interviewed them. And we talked about the techniques of pulling talk psychology. So these people can go anywhere, pull a crowd and make money. Like the idea that if you don't have any money in your pocket, you can go to a town square. And he said, and one of the guys said, I just look at people like they're walking around with my money in their pocket.
Wow.
Right. So he pulls a crowd, and there's techniques for that. And then you do a show, and the audience votes with their feet. If you're good, they'll stick around and watch. If you suck for a second, they're going to walk away. It's the ultimate test, right? And then there's a way of psychologically getting people to open their wallets and give you money at the end of the show. There are these speeches that you give. You can actually make someone walk off to an ATM and come back.
No way.
So street magic is incredible. It's an incredible art form. Birthday parties. I mean, I used to see a lot of birthday party magicians when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That is respect to those guys, because a lot of people think it's cheesy magic. It is the hardest audience in the world. There's a bunch of screaming 5-year-olds.
Right.
That is total respect to those guys. And then I used to do, like, in the 90s, I would do the Beverly Hills party circuit. That's what kept me alive while I was trying to break in as an actor. So people like Lawrence Kasdan and just like all these, Michael Jackson. I worked for all of these big name clients and would do magic for their parties. And sometimes you'd show up at the house and it would be a caviar party, and and other times, mounds of caviar everywhere. And then you would show up at the same house a month later and it'd be mounds of cocaine. And you're just like, okay, I'm doing magic, and everyone's pretty high. I did magic at the Playboy Mansion. That's how I met Hef originally when I first started to go to the parties there. That kind of high-end client is a whole nother art form. It's a whole nother business. There's a way you have to behave. There's a way you have to dress. There's, you have to be very careful with their guests that you don't become pushy or clingy. You know what it's like. You mix with these people and it's like any other kind of hospitality. You have to know how to treat people and behave. And then there's the big shows like Copperfield, like The Illusionists. When Copperfield started out, I remember everything he does is to perfection. He's been doing it a long time. But when he did a television special, like everything he did was worked out within an inch of his life. And the smartest thing that he ever did, which I never realized, but a brilliant business model, was he realized early on that it was the TV show that would bring people to see you live. And live is where you make your money. And we're kind of there now, right? Where you don't make money on television and film that much anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're using that as a promotional tool. So he saw that. He was brilliant. He saw that early in the game. So he put every dime of his budget into that television special, to make that impact, to become the world's greatest, and then just toured and made. That's why he owns islands.
Right. Right. Billions.
Yeah.
So let me ask a question. Have you ever been doing a magic trick and it's gone horribly wrong? We were talking a little bit about this with O's and his situation, but what is something you've been through and how did you get out of it?
I've done shows where I had a table, this equipment just collapsed on top of me and everybody thought it was part of the show, which was because then no one came up to help me. I had all this equipment all over me. But the good news is, this is why I was mentioning the thing with O's, is you don't know what's going to happen, right? So if a trick goes wrong, I can usually, on my feet, figure out a way of getting out of it. You can try and set that stuff up in your mind and think about all the things that can go wrong, but you'll never get everything. And it's the thing you would never think about. I have tricks that are foolproof, that cannot fail, that have failed horribly. I've had things set. I almost set a theater on fire once, which is why I don't use fire anymore. I've had smoke just billow out of a prop throughout the entire show. I've got tricks so wrong that there has been no way out other than to say, guys, I screwed that up. And you know what's hilarious? People think it's part of the show. They're like, even after the show, they're like, we're waiting. The Magic Castle, people, we're waiting for you we know there's something happening, and you're kind of like, no, I screwed it up. And they're like, no, there's something going on. We know that. And so that taught me this super valuable lesson where in the old days, if something went wrong, I would just be like, shit. But now I kind of like it. It makes me human. I'll lean into it. If it goes wrong, if somebody figures it out, I'll be like, that's so cool. You got it. Okay. I need to check, I'll give them the kudos. Yeah. It's just a magic trick, right? It's not like the end of the world. I was doing a show recently where I have the video of it as well, where this guy's sitting at a table on stage with me and I'm off to the side of the stage. I do this narrative show and I'm telling a very serious, emotional moment in my life. And the guy's sitting at the table on the other side of the stage waiting for me to come over to do a trick from the audience, right? And he knocks playing cards off the table onto the floor right in the middle of my monologue, like kills the moment. Mm-hmm. And then I look over at him and he's like, I'll get them. And he bends over to pick up the cards. And as he bends over, his ass comes out the back of his pants, essentially. Like it's the biggest plumber's crack you've ever seen on stage in spotlight for everyone to see. Mm-hmm. The show stops because it's hilarious. Everyone's cracking up. He doesn't realize his butt's on display. Aww. My moment is gone, but it was so funny that we just let that live and breathe and lean into it. And then at some point have to go, all right, now you'll remember I was being very serious. Let's get back to the, and I think in life, I don't know if you found this, but when shit goes wrong, sometimes you got to lean into it, embrace it and go, yeah. Happened, or that's me, but so what? That's it.
I love that. That's a very true and important thing for people to remember, because I think so many times when that happens, you get disappointed because the moment you were having isn't going the way you want it to, and you get all out of sorts. But you're right, to embrace it and be in the moment and pick up from where you left off is how you pick yourself back up. And it's very
Don't you feel that way when in life? I know people who plan everything ahead to the point where even if something great happens that wasn't what they planned, they can't enjoy that because they didn't succeed with the one thing that they, or quite often I know someone who very much expects people to respond to things in a certain way. And behave, and if they don't behave it in that particular way, then she's always disappointed.
Right.
And quite often there's that whole thing about the universe has a better plan for us than we think we do.
Right. So maybe you shouldn't plan too far.
Or at least be aware of the nudges and the signposts. I talk about it a lot, but I really believe there are signposts in life that if we're open to it, I feel like I feel those signposts will send us in the right direction. But you got to be aware. You got to be open and willing to view it.
And perceptive, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So if you okay, you said you have performed for a lot of big name people. If you could perform one trick for anyone in history, who would it be?
In history.
Yeah.
Oh my God. This. Well, the first thing that I would love to have met Houdini, only because the guy was so insecure and was so concerned about his legacy that to be able to, he would not believe how famous he became after death. But if I was going to perform for someone, I would want to do a magic trick for either Einstein or Tesla. I love doing magic for people who are really fucking smart.
Right. You mean
Because
Elon?
yeah, like Elon,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they think in a different way and they're really easy to fool. Like that, you can do. I used to do shows for the Rand organization in
Oh yeah,
Santa
yeah.
Monica, you know, think
Tank
tank,
people.
massive
Yeah.
think tank, right? Smartest people in the world, figuring out world issues. And I would do their holiday party every year, and I would deliberately take the dumbest tricks because I used to get a kick out of just seeing these guys go like, "Wait a minute, nah," and they're thinking on all these different levels, and I'm like, it's so simple, you know. It's an extra card. What can I, in my mind, I'm like, this is, but I love that. So I would love to meet, I would love to do magic for Einstein. I think that would be brilliant.
I love that. And is there one trick that you always know to be like the one trick that's the go-to, that's the best one that you always would want?
Yeah,
What's
and
that
I
trick?
did it for you when we met. I don't. You probably won't remember because it was a long time ago. But it was. I do this trick that was taught to me. I had a mentor when I was a kid, which was super important, I think, in my life. And he had this trick that he always did, and I love it. And it's if we were at a bar, I would have you think of a playing card, any card you wanted. I would try to pull it out of the deck of cards and fail. And then you'd be like, "Oh, poor Steve, this is embarrassing." And then we would cheers our drink, and it would be in your drink, folded up in quarters, in your drink on the bar would be
Now,
your
how
card.
could you possibly do that?
Exactly.